Chapter 1. Only the Dark. Darrow is imprisoned in complete darkness, confined in a small, cold stone cell with his hands cuffed behind his back. He endures severe physical and mental torment, unable to stand or stretch, feeling as if he's been there for years. Darrow struggles with the darkness and his own mind, alternating between despair and fleeting determination. He reminisces about his friends and loved ones, haunted by memories and voices, questioning his worth and the impact of his past actions. He battles thoughts of betrayal and guilt, particularly regarding Mustang and Ao. As he contemplates ending his suffering by smashing his head against the wall, the ground shakes and a crack of light suddenly pierces the darkness, indicating a potential change in his dire situation. In Chapter 2, Prisoner L-17, L-6363, the sealing of Darrow's cell parts, and he is exposed to blinding light for the first time in months. His body, weakened and emaciated, struggles with the light and movement. He realizes he has been imprisoned under the Jackal's dining table, hearing their conversations and clatter of silverware above him. Darrow is horrified to be displayed like a trophy before the Jackal's guests, who react with shock and disgust at his condition. The Jackal introduces Darrow mockingly as Prisoner L-17, L-6363. Cassius Obolona, one of the guests, recognizes Darrow and shows him a rare moment of kindness by giving him his cloak. The conversation among the Golds reveals their plans to dissect Darrow and their ongoing conflicts and strategies. Darrow's realization of the Jackal's cruelty and the betrayal of those he once considered allies deepens his despair and hatred. In Chapter 3, Snakebite, Darrow endures brutal treatment from the Greys as they scalp him and subject him to a harsh power hose shower. Bound and muzzled, he's dragged to a processing room where he is further humiliated and tortured. Danto, one of the Greys, taunts and injures Darrow, showcasing a deep hatred for him and other low colors. Just as the abuse intensifies, two Greys, Holiday and Trigg, reveal themselves as allies sent by Ares to rescue Darrow. They kill the guards and free Darrow, who initially mistrusts them. However, a holographic call from Severo convinces him of their sincerity. Despite his physical weakness, Darrow accepts their help, receiving a powerful stimulant to regain his strength. In Chapter 4, Cell 2187, Darrow is escorted through the Mountain Citadel's prison by Holiday and Trigg. Weakened by drugs, Darrow relies on them for support. They descend deeper into the prison, pretending to be 13th Legion soldiers. Vixus, a dangerous enemy from Darrow's past, joins them, growing suspicious. Darrow orders Trigg to kill the camera and swiftly attacks Vixus, but struggles due to his weakened state. Holiday and Trigg subdue Vixus, who reveals Victor's location in Cell 2187. Upon reaching Victor's cell, they find her tortured and initially unresponsive. Victor panics and attacks Darrow, but Trigg tranquilizes her. As they prepare to leave, Vixus taunts Darrow, prompting him to return and kill Vixus, sending a message to the Jackal. Alarms sound as they make their escape. In Chapter 5, Plan C, Darrow, Holiday, and Trigg are in an elevator with Victra, who is unconscious from her injuries. They discuss their dire situation, knowing they're being redirected to the first level where enemies await. Despite their fear, Trigg humorously suggests they need a beer, and Holiday curses the compromised elevator controls. Darrow is haunted by the bloodshed and his transformation into someone who relies on hate. They brace for the worst as the elevator descends. When the elevator stops, Holiday and Trigg use an EMP device to disable the enemy's technology, allowing them to fight with antique weapons. They slaughter the unsuspecting guards and escape the chaos. Darrow, struggling with his physical weakness, drags Victra while the siblings cover him. They finally reach an outdoor landing platform, battling the cold and their dwindling time. With enemies in pursuit, they set up defenses and prepare for a last stand, hoping for a timely extraction. In Chapter 6, Victims, Darrow and his allies face a desperate situation as a defensive shield isolates them, cutting off any hope of external rescue. Trigg finishes setting mines on the bridge but is pinned down by enemy fire. Holiday and Darrow attempt to cover him, but Trigg is ultimately speared by Aya Algrimus, who then tosses him off the bridge, killing him. Holiday is severely injured, and Darrow struggles to keep her and Victra safe. Cassius and Aja confront Darrow, urging him to surrender. Instead, Darrow refuses to be a victim and chooses to escape. He drags Holiday and Victra to the edge of the landing pad, where he notices a sound from the valley below, a sign that help might be coming from within the planet itself. Defiantly, Darrow leaps off the ledge, taking his companions with him into the open air. In Chapter 7, Bumblebees, Darrow and his companions plummet toward a chaotic scene below. The ground erupts as a claw drill bursts through, causing destruction. Falling too quickly, Darrow loses his grip on Victra, but they are soon rescued by a squadron of Sons of Ares in